Tunes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 4 here in CE 155. Chef Eric and I welcome you to another fine live session. Hey, how was everybody's Thanksgiving? Was it good? Thumbs up? Yeah.
Oh, I'm stuffed still. I'm more stuffed than my bird was stuffed.
Roberta stuffed, yeah. Yeah, I'm tired of turkey, that's for sure. No more turkey, no more mashed potatoes.
Hold the thought on that mashed potatoes there, young man.
I was hamming it the entire time.
Yeah.
You getting hammy?
Yeah. And I was going to pull up a picture to show you guys what I did over the holiday weekend, which turned out to be a little bit more of a chore than what I thought it was going to be. And this is for the lobby of my children's elementary school. And it is 2 feet by 3 feet.
Oh, my goodness.
So it took a tremendous amount of labor to put that thing together, but it's now in the lobby of their school, and I'm sure the kids have destroyed it piece by piece over the past couple of days.
I gotta ask Chef, how much white frosting did you use to put that together?
Pounds of white frosting and pounds. Yeah. Fortunately, we had a wood base. We just, today we finished up 40 additional houses that we're donating to the school as well for them to, each one of the classes is going to decorate. They're going to have a big competition. It'll surround this, so it'll be a little village. So
I got a message today on my Facebook profile of one of our graduates, Cindy Moore, who went ahead and works for Disney now. And I think in one of the actual halls or auditorium areas, they have almost full-scale house. It looks like the Beetlejuice house.
Wow.
Like, this thing is, like, huge. I mean, little people could probably walk straight through it. Like, my little girl could probably walk in it, kind of walk around, and basically it's like, it's so amazing. And then I also saw another one of, what is that, Hogwarts? All laid out on Facebook today too. The thing was probably about, I want to say, like 15 feet wide of the entire castle of Hogwarts. I was just like,
that ain't gonna happen, man. I ain't doing it. No way.
You won't catch me all playing with no gingerbread.
The one we did this past week is so big, we're putting it on Airbnb. I mean, it's I mean, the amount of food that it takes, and time and effort and cleanup.
Rent it out. There you go.
Yeah. Ladies and gents, we are officially in the second half of CE 155. So congratulations, everybody. Reached a little milestone there, and Chef Eric and I are very impressed with everybody's progress so far. And for us as educators, that is the true payday when we see people doing well and learning and understanding things in the course and trying and putting effort into it. So thank you, everybody out there. That is completely awesome. We are looking forward to the next couple of weeks in this class. And I mentioned this during week 1 of our first live session. Regardless of where you go and what you do in this industry, you will utilize what you learn in this class. You will be involved in some type of facility layout. And, oftentimes as chefs, and Chef Eric can certainly support this as well, we refer to our staffs and we say, hey, how do you think you could lay this out? Hey, how would you solve this problem? Because we understand it's a real team effort to operate a kitchen. It's a real team effort to build a kitchen. And so we like to solicit a lot of advice. You'll be referring back to this class, trust me. So great job so far, everybody. One last word of advice. At nighttime when we close kitchens down, it's a lot of work. You got to clean up, and then you got to set up for the next day. And oftentimes you're tired, right? You've had a busy night, and you really have to put a lot of effort into making sure that things finish strong. We really want to see everyone in this course finish strong. We know that the holidays are approaching and things get hectic and busy, but you know what? It's going to pay off for you in the long run. So put that extra effort into it. Remember why you're here. Remember that passion and keep things going. So we look forward to the next 3 weeks. It's going to be fun. How did everybody like week 3? Natasha's down there going, no, Erica, she can't make up her mind. Ebony's like sideways. Yeah. Uh-oh. What kind of, Roberta didn't care for that one.
Thumbs down all around, Chef.
I know.
Just to go ahead and kind of cut right into the next segment is to where I did see a lot of room for improvement for this week.
Okay.
So definitely utilize us. Okay, Chef Weeks and I are here at your disposal. Okay, we want to help you create this layout. We want you to get this concept really kind of like drawn out to where you're going to get that idea, so that way you can hold on to this, submit it with that business plan, and be like, all right, look, right, this is what I want to do. And then you kind of always, I still go back to mine from 3 years ago that I did in this class and kind of tinker around with it, right? I kind of play around. So these things are really, really just rough drafts. Okay, we're not looking for you guys to get these like, bam, woo, yeah, this is going to be my layout. This is what I want, right? This is going to be a general idea of what you think you need to go ahead and get set up for your actual front of house layout, right? Working into week 4, we're going to be doing back of the house. So we really think, though, that front of the house is all about customer service, right? That customer feel, what they feel when they walk into your establishment, and what kind of idea you want them to feel, right? That subliminal, what is that, Chef? Subliminal suggestion to where all the different little like knick-knacky things, pictures on the wall, if you have open brick with a little bit of actual plaster, if you have bright, vibrant colors, if you have kind of dark and gloomy colors, all these things play hand in hand with the mindset of how your customer is going to feel when they enter your front doors. So really think about this stuff, because without those customers, you don't have an establishment. What's the point then of a back of house if you can't really get a front of house set, right? So keep that in mind. So definitely reach out to us. I know a lot of you are definitely having some problems. A lot of y'all definitely forgot that second half of the assignment, right? That mood board. Right, we're not expecting you guys to be computer geniuses in order to go ahead and copy, paste pictures, things like that. That's what we're here for. Utilize student support, utilize us as chefs to help assist you through those little difficulties. Okay.
Yep, absolutely, and that is the truth spoken right there. And as far as this week's assignment is concerned, over the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to lay out some very specific things that we want to see within that design. Feel free to ask your questions during the live session. I mean, this is a great time to get a clear understanding of exactly what needs to be done. That's what we want to do. And then as far as the front of the house is concerned, it's an extremely critical part of a restaurant, and you have to really have a clear conceptual idea of how to operationally lay that out so it is effective. So you prevent traffic jams, so you have hand sinks, so you have all the basic elements that create a smooth and effectively flowing front of the house. And so we're going to touch on some of those aspects here throughout the night tonight and kind of learn on it. Chef Eric, did you have any other feedback as far as the assignments are concerned?
I mean, a lot of people had some good front of house layouts, right? Some good flow. They remembered their POS systems. Some need more POS systems, right? If you got like 65 seats, one POS system is not going to benefit you, right? Because you got to really think when it comes down to your serving staff as well. If you have 65 seats, how many servers do you think you're going to need on staff, right? Probably at least 5. So that way everybody is giving good customer service, right? So that way you're getting that customer service, but are you going to have a line of 5 servers waiting to use that POS system? Like, can you go ahead and put in their order already? Or if the kitchen staff, some servers have done this to me in the past, is to where they'll go ahead, they got triple sat, right? And they go ahead and take each one of those tables' orders all at the exact same time and put them all in the POS system all at the exact same time. So if you have a full house, you're probably going to want a lot more systems to utilize. So that way you can have some good ease of flow, ease of use for your service staff, as well as comfortability for your actual production side in the back of the house. Because if that back of the house is feeling pushed to where that ticket machine is just going off left and right, they're going to be all like, oh my gosh, pull my hair out. That server staff. I can't believe you just, it's not fun, right?
The old roundhouse, right?
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you also trash cans, right? Don't just stick trash cans in corners. Utilize that space. Like Chef Week said last week, is every square foot is dollar bills, right? You're paying for that square footage. So why not use it, right? Go ahead and create a server station there. Have a nice little hand sink. Have like some that POS system. Have that trash can, right? Have maybe a low boy there for them to keep like their different cold ingredients, things for coffees and such like that, creamers, right? Making sure that you are always accessible, ease of use, flow, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are great points. So moving on to week 4, let's take a look at our class page to make sure that we're all on the same page, so to speak, here quickly. This is week 4. I hope everybody got to see this lovely video that is produced locally here in Tucson, Arizona. It's a real fine piece of work. And then the research materials this week are really going to help you out with your design for the back of the house. Not only just don't glance at them, but make sure that you really truly understand them. And like Chef Eric was insinuating earlier, make sure you pick up the phone and you call. Hey, Chef, I can't figure this out. I don't know what's going on. I need help. That's what we're here for, to guide you through these assignments. And then thank you very much for those that are here this evening for our live session. And then for those of you that aren't, make sure you watch the live session archive, but you wouldn't know that because you're not here. And then our assignment down at the bottom of the page this week, we are working on the back of the house kitchen layout. You're going to continue working with the same template that you started with in week 1. And we'll get to that here a little bit later. So moving on to a kitchen design. I've designed about 7 kitchens throughout my career, and I've made a lot of changes and a lot of other kitchens over the years to make things more effective as things go along. Some of the things, the thought process that Chef Eric is going to be looking for this week when he goes to grade your work. One of the biggest issues, and I've mentioned this before, that we have in the kitchen is footsteps. Footsteps are a huge issue. The other night I worked the saute station at a local restaurant. In a 4-hour time period on my station, I moved 4.8 miles, right? The station is only about 10 feet, right? Should that station not have been effectively designed, that would have increased it to about 8 miles, right? The amount of steps that it takes to go from the dish area to the hotline, the amount of steps that it takes to go from the walk-in to the prep area. These are all things that need to be taken into consideration, right? If your cooks are needing a lot of items from the cooler to get set up from service, do not put the cooler outside under lock and key at the south end of the parking lot, right? You want to try to position that as close to them as feasibly possible to eliminate the amount of steps. You have to remember, in the restaurant industry, every step you take, you have to pay for it, right? Steps aren't free. So make sure that you utilize them. Something else Chef Eric is going to be looking at closely this week is operational flow, and we're going to be getting into that here shortly. Operational flow means traffic, stuff going in and out of the kitchen, right? So if your servers are coming into the kitchen, you don't want that in a cross path of the cooks. Otherwise, you're going to have some crunch time. You have to be very conscientious. You know, your servers are going to the dish area, and you don't want that in cross traffic with dishwashers carrying heavy stuff out. Logical design, logical thought process behind everything. What's going on, Chef Eric?
Just Lyrica's over here screaming at me in the chat.
No, okay. And then you want to make sure that everything is accessible. For example, if you are having deliveries coming in at all hours of the day, you don't want to put your delivery door extremely far from where your delivery product is going to be going. So for example, if your people have to cross over traffic of servers and dish people and everything else to put away a 50-pound case of potatoes or whatever the case may be, you're going to run into a few accidents and some really accessibility things that are going to be a big issue. Dish
Hey,
area,
Chef,
right? What's
can I
up?
go ahead and cut in real quick? I think Latasha's got a question for you.
Sure, what's up?
It was for last week's assignment. On the move sheet, what does it mean by how many turns do you have?
How many turns? We didn't discuss that last week, and I'll go ahead and stop what I'm talking about and cut into that here real quick. Yeah, how many turns? A turn is considered a customer in a restaurant, right? So if you have a customer that comes in, sits down, eats, gets up, leaves, and another customer sits down, that is referred to as a turn.
Okay, I thought so, but my concept, I kind of like want a small bakery, so I don't really see people sitting in there all day, all the time. So I really didn't know what that meant. Okay.
Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank
Cool.
you.
All right, you got it. Back to what I was talking about. Utilities need to be very well thought out in the restaurant industry. Utilities are things like lighting, HVAC systems, heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems. You have to remember, we have hood systems that are above our stoves, right? They remove a tremendous amount of air, and then air has to come back in. That's called makeup air. Do you realize in the United States, the average cost for electricity in a restaurant is about $3.75 per square foot? That's a lot of money if you have a 3,000 square foot kitchen, right? That's $3,700 a month in electricity that you're paying.
That's more than my mortgage, Chef. That's insane.
And I've written a lot of those checks over the years. And you know, you have to be very conscientious about the way you're designing those things. You do not put your walk-in cooler on your hotline. The condensers can't keep up, right? And you're going to be spending a tremendous amount of money. So you have to be very conscientious. Chef Eric is going to be looking at those utility issues as well. Other utility issues that you need to be conscientious of include sinks. Hand sinks especially need to be dispersed throughout the kitchen and easily available in each one of the designated areas, right? So if you have a prep area, you're gonna have a sink in there. You have a hotline and salad area, garde area, you're gonna have a sink in there, right? If you're gonna have a dish area, you're gonna have a sink in there. So each one of the areas need to have their own designated hand sink. It's very, very important. Now, I'm going to say this with all honesty. There are people that you do not want in your kitchen, right? Primarily servers, right? Waiters, right? And the reason is they clog traffic and they clog efficiency and operational and cause other operational challenges. It's not their fault, right? So if you don't create that operational flow that's nice and smooth, right, which allows the servers to get in, pick up their food, drop their dishes off, whatever the case is, and get right out, then you're going to have that bottleneck that's going to occur. Chef Eric's going to be taking a look for that this week in your assignment. So it's just like creating roads, right? You don't have stop signs on freeways, right? You don't have off ramps on country roads. So you have to use a lot of that logic. It's extremely important, right? So talked a little bit about lighting in kitchens, right? We deal with a lot of luminaries in kitchens. Lighting is a very specific issue. It is required throughout the country that you have shatterproof light covers on all light bulbs in kitchens because you don't want that bulb exploding above your work surface and spraying glass down onto your work area. That's very, very important. But the disbursement of lighting in a kitchen is essential. If your cooks can't effectively see what they're working on, you're going to have challenges, right? Challenges such as cuts, burns, drops, spills, and everything else. Make sure you have plenty of lighting in your kitchen. It's very, very important to deal with. We're not going to get too much into the specifics of plumbing tonight, but plumbing in a commercial kitchen is a huge issue. For some reason, a lot of interesting things end up going down the drains in our restaurants. Everything from whole citrus, which blocks a drain line beautifully, to excessive amounts of plastic wrap, everything else. All drains, right, other than drains from the dish machine are required to have an air gap. Does everybody understand what that means? An air gap is a 6-inch clearance between the actual drain itself and where the water comes out. There has to be a gap. Anything that has any type of food-related item in it is required to have an air gap in it. And that is because if your drains back up in your restaurant, which they frequently do, they do not want that raw sewage going up the drain lines and then getting into your sinks and potentially causing some type of bacteria infection into either your plates or your food or whatever the case may be. So air gaps are an essential thing in restaurants. And then what about a bathroom in the kitchen? Anybody think about that? No? Do you want your dishwasher, after he's been washing dishes for the last 12 hours, to go into your restroom where all your high-paying customers are? No, it's not the nicest scene. And oftentimes, cooks and other people are in a huge hurry when they're in the restroom, and they'll commit crimes such as not properly washing their hands or whatever the case may be, which is a horrible thing. And you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I like putting restrooms in kitchens. If they're going to destroy an area, let it be an area out of the public area, because they will, and they do frequently. There's nothing worse than going into a restaurant and seeing a cook's apron hanging on the stall door, right? Talk about an unappetizing scenario. So think about putting a restroom in there. Chef Eric is also going to be taking a look at your HVAC this week. I just mentioned that a moment ago. HVAC is a critical issue in kitchens. HVAC refers to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And our biggest system that we use in the kitchen is our hood system, right? Hood systems run about $1,000 a foot. They can be massive, they can be smaller. That's what evacuates all of the heat and grease, theoretically, from the kitchen. It runs it through a filter system and then puts it out into the atmosphere and then causes global warming, but that's a whole nother subject. Then, I don't think it causes global warming, but whatever I was saying. But there's a lot of air being sucked out of the kitchen as we're cooking, right? So we deal with what we call makeup air systems. So as the air comes out, we must have a system that puts air in. A lot of times you go into restaurants and you'll notice that the kitchen doors are being sucked open and closed. That's because their makeup air is out of balance and it needs to be repaired. So that is something that you need to be conscientious of. It's a big deal. Also, air conditioning is a big issue. A lot of restaurants don't have air conditioning in the kitchen. That is because it is extremely expensive to try to keep up. A kitchen can be 100, 110 degrees, and if you have a system out there that's trying to keep it cool, that's a huge drain on your utilities. So be conscientious of that. A lot of us work with swamp coolers. Here in Arizona, a lot of our kitchens do have air conditioning because of the extreme heat outside. That is something critical. Your equipment, Chef Eric will be very particular about this week, must be installed so that it can be easily cleaned, okay? Do not put your equipment in an odd location that does not have access to cleaning, to being able to get behind the equipment to sweep the floors, to get underneath the equipment to sweep the floors. All kitchen equipment must be at least 6 inches off the ground. Nothing touches the ground other than the leg or the wheel. That's it. And that is a law across the country because it does not allow you to clean underneath the equipment effectively. So you must think about that. Kitchen floors, man. Woo! You ever see carpet in a kitchen? No? You ain't going to, man. We use a special quarry tile in the kitchen, or we use high density vehicular paint to create a nice, smooth, spongy, cleanable surface that is theoretically slip proof. So kitchen floors are quite expensive. We drop heavy things on them accidentally. We spill hot liquids on them, right? We drag things across them that should not be dragged across them, right? We do all sorts of things in kitchens that people should not be doing, and normal people don't do other places. Maybe that's why we're in the kitchen, huh? You need to be very conscientious of the type of flooring. Chef Eric is also going to take a close look at where you put your garbage receptacles, your garbage cans, right? Garbage cans are important. If you only have one garbage can, right, that is off yonder by the back door, right? So when the dishwashers come in, or the bus boys come in, they need a place to scrape their food. You don't want them walking to the back door to do it. You want them, right? So you need to have proper garbage cans. On the line, you should have a garbage can. In the prep area, you should have a garbage can. In the dish area, a garbage can. So you should have several garbage cans spread throughout the kitchen that have easy access. It's extremely critical. Chef Eric, am I forgetting anything?
No, you're pretty much on track there, Chef. I was just mentioning over here in the chat is when it comes down to those dragging things on the floor types of situations that we utilize a lot of different dollies, hand carts, things to make it easier on us, easier on our backs, easier on our bodies in general, as well as nicer and more convenient for our interior aspects, right? To where we're not beating up our floor like crazy. I also think that we also utilize a lot of different, what are those, like the foot racks, right? You know, those safety sort of rubber mats that we put down for better traction and comfort when it comes down to, what's that?
To save our backs.
That's what I was just gonna say. So save our backs, save our legs, save our body. We're on our feet for 8 to 12 hours in a shift, and so we really want to make sure that that little sponge comfort is there as well, right? But I did want to go ahead and kind of chime in about one little thing when it came down to that heating aspect, is to where the very first kitchen I ran, we actually, our swamp cooker, wow, I just brain farted, but a swamp cooler totally took a complete dump on us. And my kitchen, the thermometer on the inside, I had one of those clock thermometers, ran about 121 degrees, okay? As to where OSHA standards, that is way too hot and is a unworkable environment, okay? Because it causes a lot of fatigue and unwanted stress on not only your mental state, but as well as your body, okay? So these things are always very important, and remember to look into those other standards that are out there in your area, okay? Because they have regulations. I actually ended up losing that job because I got in a huge argument with the owner and the GM pertaining to getting that fixed. And they said, well, Chef, that's your job and your duty. And I said, well, where are these funds coming from, right? Because they're not coming from my budget to get this equipment fixed pertaining to the establishment. Your swamp cooler breaks, it's your establishment, right? And so him and I kind of battled it out, and I was like, look, I've been working a 12-hour shift in this 120 degree, and there's no return air, there's no exhaust, like it was hot. And so I ended up getting fired, and I called OSHA, and OSHA went in there, shut them down for a week until they got it fixed.
Attaboy.
You don't want to play those games, because it's better to save yourself in the long run. If that means you got to put up a battle for your staff, do it. So my staff ended up, a lot of them within the next month or two, ending up quitting because all they did was get one of those little R2D2 units, those little roller ones, and put that in there. So that way it was cooler and that temperature dropped for them to work in there, but that they never really got that fixed. And needless to say, about 6 months later, that establishment went. So
maybe that's why they didn't get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
They had no money.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's an interesting story. That you hear that quite a bit about stuff that goes down that then they never repair it, and it's unfortunate. And, you will deal with OSHA in some aspects of this industry, the Official Safety Hazard Act of 1965. And at some point in time in your career, you might even become OSHA certified. And basically what they do is they ensure safety in the workplace, not only kitchens, but many other places as well. And generally, they don't inspect, and you don't see them unless there's some type of issue or someone makes a phone call. So you want to make sure that that gets dealt with properly. You want to have a safe environment for your staff at all times. Safe, wholesome environment is very, very important. Going back, before we take a look at a couple of pictures here, a couple of other things. Last week, we talked about the fact restaurants should be 60% front of the house, 40% back of the house. And that is about the size of a kitchen. So what you want to do is a rule of thumb. You want to figure about 5 to 7 square feet per seat in your restaurant, right? So if you have a 100 square foot or 100 seat restaurant, theoretically you should have about a 700 square foot kitchen, theoretically, right? So 5 to 7 square feet per seat. So Chef Eric, when he sees, you're coming through with a 1,000 square foot or 1,000 seat restaurant, that would be a 7,000 square foot kitchen. So, be conscientious of that. And remember what we talked about a moment ago, utilities run $3.75 per square feet. So if you did have a 3,000 square foot kitchen, your utility bill would be over $21,000 per month. So bigger is not always better.
Better be making that revenue, right, Chef?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Got to have about 50, 60 turns a day at least.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So be conscientious of that. I mean, we all want, in America, we like to have big things and grand things and huge things. And there's a reason some kitchens aren't so big, and oftentimes they can be very smart. The average size of a restaurant kitchen in the United States is right around 1,050 square feet. And that seems to suffice pretty well. This is an interesting number here. The average cost per square foot to construct a kitchen in the United States averages right around $275 per square foot. Okay, so and that's just the shell. That's not equipment, right? Because we have a lot of plumbing, a lot of HVAC, like we talked about, the hood system, gas lines, all these other things are very expensive, and it adds up. So if you want to have a 1,000 square foot kitchen, you're looking at spending right around $275,000 to get that thing put together. So bigger is not always better. The biggest investment that you're going to make into your restaurant is your kitchen, right? And it should be, because that is the workhorse. And you want to, a lot of chefs out there are like, oh, go buy it used, or that old one will work. We can get more out of it. It oftentimes saves a lot of money to spend a little extra money. You can save a lot of money. Things come with warranties. They work, and if they're properly maintained and properly cleaned on a regular basis, you'll have them for a long, long time. So food trucks. I know a lot of people are interested in food trucks here. Those could be considered a small commercial kitchen, and you can do that this week for this week's exercise. There's a template for that. Food trucks, I know you can get some used ones for $20,000, $25,000. Some of the more decent ones are right around $50,000, and I've seen them go all the way up to $200,000 for a food truck before. So it's a huge investment that needs to be thought through very, very carefully. Let's take a look at a couple of pictures here before we go too much further here. And I think, Chef Eric, did you have some pictures too?
You know it.
You know it? I'm going to blow through these real quick, and then you can pull some of yours up here.
Sure.
And these are some of the primary areas that you're going to want to take a look at in your kitchen. I think some of these we've already seen, which is perfectly fine. If your volume substantiates it, you're going to want to have a prep area, right? And generally, the way that works in the restaurant industry is we will prepare all of our items in bulk in the prep area. Salad dressings, sauces, braised meats, sliced cheeses. All the prep Calabacitas, all that type of work we will prepare in the prep area that gives us great operational ability on the line. Once again, you notice they have a hand sink here in this area right here. They have plenty of tables to work on, and then they have ample storage up on the walls and in the ceiling. This is a great prep area. One of the reasons I like this picture, like I mentioned a moment ago, see how easy it is to get in between this equipment to clean, right? You have no idea how quickly grease builds up. It needs to be maintained. So you have to give yourself the opportunity to clean it. Another great thing about this kitchen as well is the amount of luminaries, the lighting in that kitchen. It's clean. You can see the dirt, you can see the grease, and you're able to maintain it. So that's good. Dish areas. Some of the things you're going to want to have in your dish areas, got to make sure that you have your triple sinks, right? Triple sinks is where we wash, rinse, and sanitize. Hot water, cold water. Your sanitation solution, you're probably going to be using quaternary sanitizer. Once you get into industry, that's going to be right about 200 parts per million. And the drainage on these must have an air gap, right? It must be a 6-inch clearance between the end of the pipe and the start of the drain, which prevents backflow. It's very critical. So in your dish area, this is where your dishwashers are going to wash their big pots and pans and that kind of stuff. Dish machine, depending on the size of your facility, you're probably going to want to have one most likely. This is a spray table with a spray hose where you spray the plates off before it goes into the machine. That's very, very important. As we mentioned the other week in this class, this is what we call an expo area. This is where the servers will come in through a door, pick up their food, and leave through the opposite door, right? You do not want one swinging door for your kitchen. It's bad, right? The servers oftentimes are very busy and they're hustling. So you want to make sure that you have 2 doors for your kitchen, right? One in, one out, one in, one out, right? What goes in does not go out because this is one in, one out, right? Very, very important. And then as far as your hotline setup is concerned, in week 1, you submitted your menu items and you talked about the stations that you were going to be working with. And so you have a good understanding of the actual equipment that you're going to need on your hotline, right? So if you're going to have grilled chicken, you're going to need a grill, right? If you have sauteed, you're going to have sauteed, et cetera, et cetera. Variety of different equipment that we're going to talk about here in a minute that is listed on this week's assignment. Storage area, Chef Eric is going to be really looking for a storage area, right? If you have orders coming in 2 or 3 times per week, you're going to have enough food on hand for 2 or 3 days at a time, right? Food cannot be stored on the floor. Food cannot be stored with chemicals. It's very, very important. And traditionally in the restaurant industry, we have a door that closes and locks on our storerooms because pilferage is a huge issue. So we like to make sure that we keep things out. So you're going to want to have some nice racks in there. These are called storage racks or metro racks. You will notice that the shelves on these items are perforated, which is what we use in the restaurant industry because that allows the air to circulate up and down and through the product and keep everything nice and cool. Other than that, those are the primary pictures that are associated with this week's assignment. Something I didn't mention in your kitchen, you're going to want to have a service area. That's a lot of larger facilities will have the service area in the dining room, but servers need to have a place in the kitchen where they have their ice machine, right? Where they can get ice, and generally most facilities, the cooks and the servers will use the same ice machine. Generally a beverage dispensing station. Generally they will also have a POS system in the kitchen depending on the size of the facility. So you want to make some space that is near the entrance or exit to the kitchen for servers to come in quickly, get ice, bring their tickets in, pick up their food, drop off their dirty dishes, and get out, right? We don't socialize. We get in, we get out. So we talked about the expo area, so make sure that you have a place that the servers come in, they pick up their food, they get out. Hotline. So as I mentioned a moment ago, you know which items you're going to be serving off your hotline. If you need to have a saute station, make sure that you have a stove with burners on it, right? If you need to melt items, gratin, whatever, make sure you have a salamander. If you are going to finish items in the oven, make sure you have an oven. So you need to make sure that all these things. Garde-manger area, most restaurants have that. Garde-manger area is the pantry area. That's where we do all of our cold preparations. So make sure that you provide space. And then we already talked about the prep area in there. Very, very important. Chef Eric, do you want to show your pictures?
Yeah, I was going to start off with some food truck layouts, right? Because I know quite a few of you are kind of getting that general idea to where you want to either have a food truck, small bakery, or even just a small kind of idea, right, or concept. So when it comes down to those food trucks, remember, like Chef Weeks mentioned, is that you don't want to have your coolers sitting right next to those hot, heating elements, right? So think about having one side of your food truck be all your hot equipment, the other side of your food truck being all your cold and service area, right? So that way you can have your clean area, the pots and pans, your triple sink, your freezer, your fridge, your service to where you have that service window, and then like maybe a steam table or even a prep area next to that, right? So that way you always want to try and think to work, especially in a food truck, since you are having such a small kitchen and just small area in general, to really think in triangles, right? So it makes it a lot easier on yourself. So that way, you're going from, here to here to there to service, right? Kind of keeping it, that was weird. Kind of making it very easy on yourself and work in triangles, okay? When it comes down to big kitchens, right? Remember, like Chef Week said, is that you have those HVAC units, right? Keep all your hot equipment underneath those. It's imperative, because if you don't, you're probably going to get a violation from the health department, or even OSHA comes in there and it's like, this doesn't work, or even the fire department. All the above are all going to come in there and kind of write you up and be like, look, you got to get this moved. You have about a week to do this. If you don't, we're going to close you down. So keep that in mind when it comes down to your layouts as well, okay? So you can very easily look up and utilize your Google search engine to get a little bit more brainstorming going when it comes down to the layout, depending on your size, right? If you
I want that kitchen.
Right?
I know, man.
Beautiful, isn't it? That's pretty sexy. I like it. And then think about even, like Chef Weeks mentioned, is, you got your salamanders up here. You got all your hot equipment, but then also think all that extra space you're utilizing, right? See all these pots and pans hanging up here, right? Ease of use, right? Shorter steps, less steps. Make sure you have space to go ahead for all that different storage, okay? So I will be sharing a lot of this in a message. This is a layout for a bakery, right? See how they got their electrical units coming from the top rather than the floor? A lot easier, a lot safer. Plus storage, right? That goes away very easily. It's not then in the way. It's not making anything have to stay stationary, right? Then all these are on rollers, so they can be moved around. They can rearrange that if they need to, right? So think of how you need to utilize your space in order to be as efficient as possible, right? So keep that in mind. And then I will be sharing this slide presentation with you guys as well to really help you guys get a little guideline to where you want to think about when it comes down to all the different pieces of equipment and things of that sort that you're going to want inside your establishment, whether it's a food truck or a fine dining establishment, okay?
Absolutely. So it's imperative that as you have questions this week, shoot us a text, right? Or shoot us an email, shoot us anything. Ebony, what's going on?
I was checking out, they had like a wood type surface on that last picture.
Butcher's block.
That better to have than the stainless steel?
You can only utilize those types of tables in bakeries.
Okay.
They've been outlawed in most kitchens in the United States. Some states still allow them to be used in bakeries and bakeries only, because wood is a porous surface and it will absorb bacteria. We just redid our kitchen here at home. We put a 200 square foot wood island in the center that is like one of those because I love the feel of it when I'm working with doughs. It's nice and soft versus a stainless steel.
Okay.
It's a little bit more forgiving and not as pushy after the fact, right? Because stainless steel, you'll find that those, after you work on them, especially with dough for a while, that it's going to have a little bit of flex back at you to where you're pushing down on it so much, then it all of a sudden concaves, and then you have this little, you've dented that space on that stainless steel, and then all of a sudden it's going to go and pop back at you, and then you're going to have a bubble, right? So
the way I look at it is a wood table is like a first date. Stainless steel table is like 20 years of marriage, right? One is soft, one is hard. One springs back and snaps you in the face. The other one is nice and forgiving, right? So, that's kind of, the different perspective of a way to look at it. But
definitely a different analogy there, Chef, for sure.
Yeah, I know. 37 years in the kitchen, I got them all, man. Yeah. Been there, done that, yeah. So a couple of the things, just real quick before we get to our assignment. We talked about hand sinks. Those are essential. It's not something that Escoffier is asking for. That is something that your local authorities are going to come around and take a look for. Make sure you have plenty of garbage cans in there. Make sure that you have your equipment laid out according to the amount of footsteps that you're going to take. Chef Eric just showed some excellent pictures up there with great utilization of access to equipment. It's extremely important. If you're going to be working with saute pans, do not keep your saute pans in the dish area. Keep your saute pans on the hot line, right? And just, and I know a lot of this sounds a little bit redundant, but you have to put a lot of logical thought process into this. Number one, you are making a major investment into your facility, right? We talked about the average cost is right around $275,000 for a kitchen. That's a lot of money. Should you design it and not think it through properly? Wow, that's going to cost you a few bucks. Moving a drain is a couple thousand a foot. So make sure that you think it through. Make sure that equipment, when you do lay it out on the facility layout tool, that it is cleanable and accessible. You want to be able to make sure, Chef Eric's going to say, hey, can you clean that, right? Because grease and grease buildup is a tremendous issue in restaurants, and we have to have easy access to take care of that stuff. Make sure your storerooms are laid out properly. Make sure that you have a back door on your kitchen to receive products. You don't want your delivery people coming in through the dining room. Make sure that service area in the kitchen is close to the entrance to the kitchen where the servers can get in and get out, right? We always pretend like they have leprosy, right? We don't want them getting close to us because otherwise they slow us down, and so that's the way we think. Let's take a look at our assignment this week about what we got going on. We are going to be working with slides 4, 5, and 6 this week. I didn't number them. So it's, I'm sorry, it's slides 3, 4, and slides 3, 4, and 6 this week.
Chef, heads up on that as well. I did see that some people, when I was looking over assignments this past week, they have a different template.
Really?
Yeah, to where some are differently laid out, especially like that mood board. It also has like a space to insert colors to where it has a color scheme idea, almost like the one that I had from when I was in school. So I think there's some old school ones and some new school ones. I don't know if that is just pertaining to maybe some people that came back. I'm not too certain on that one. So
let me find out what's going on with that issue, because that's kind of concerning. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's important. So we're going to be working with slides 3, 4, and 6. 3, 4, 6. We didn't number these things, so we got to deal with it. 3, 4, 6, and you are going to use one of those 3 slides depending on your facility. You can use slide 3 if you choose. You can use slide 4. You can use slide 6. You don't do all 3 slides. It's one of the 3 slides. And for talking purposes right now, I am going to focus on slide 3. This is in your facility layout tool. This is what you opened up in week 1, right? So slide 3 is for a more traditional style setup of a back of the house design. Slide 4 is for a smaller bakery cafe type setup. And then slide 6 will be for a food truck setup. So you only have to do one of the 3 slides depending on your concept. So if your concept is a fine dining restaurant and you submit your assignment with your 1 to 2 sentence description of your concept to Chef Eric, and it's a fine dining restaurant and you've used a food truck for your example, it's not going to flow, right? So does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense to you, Chef Eric? Yeah? Okay. So for the back of the house design, once again, and I'll go through this like we did last week. If you choose to move the walls around, you simply left click on the wall, and you can drag that wall anywhere that you want. So you can click and drag, left click and drag the wall to wherever you want to put it. As well, there's a small dot here at the top. You can right click on that, and then you can turn the wall to any angle that you wish. Or you can right click on it and return it to the way it was before. Okay? And then you can move the wall back. You can put the wall anywhere that you want or you can leave the walls the way they are. It's not absolutely necessary to move them. It's just an option, that's all. There are several doors located here in the slide already. You can move them to wherever you see fit. As we talked about earlier, here's an entrance to the kitchen, here's an exit to the kitchen, okay? And then over here, if you go to this gray bar here on the bottom, you can slide to the right, and this is where all of your equipment is going to be. Okay. So there's a whole array of equipment. A combi oven is an oven that not only is a convection oven, which means that it circulates the heat. It is a conventional oven, which means it will provide heat only from the bottom. And then it is also a steamer, and then it also retherms food as well. So you can do multitudes of different things in that. They come in a variety of different sizes, right? Heat lamps, right? You're gonna wanna have heat lamps on your hotline so you can keep your food warm, right? After your cooks have prepared it while you're waiting for the servers. Metro racks, that's what we talked about using in the storage room. And you can also put those in your dish area to keep your pots and your pans or your plates or whatever you choose. Metro rack as well, Metro rack shelf. If you just click on the right click on the shelf, it'll go right into the Metro rack, and that's how you create your shelving unit. That makes sense to everybody? So if I want a shelving unit in my storeroom, I'm going to right click on my Metro rack. I'm going to drag and drop it to wherever I want it to be. And then I'm going to take my shelf, right? And I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to drag and I'm going to drop it wherever I want it. So if I want 3 shelves on this one, what I will do with the shelf unit itself, the shelf, I will right click, right? I will copy, and then I will go to where I want it, and then I will hit paste. Right click and hit paste once again. It's quite simple. The first couple of ones might be a bit of a challenge, but after you do a couple of them, it becomes quite simple. It's not very, very difficult. So these are my grills. These are my coolers and reach-ins. Reach-ins are what we traditionally have on our hotline, right? They're smaller units with a door that you open up, and the refrigerators. Ranges, that's where we do our saute work. Sinks, the small one right here is a hand sink, right? These are triple sinks or triple sinks that you would use in your dish area, wash, rinse, sanitize. These larger units are not to be used for washing. They are what we call prep sinks, right? That's where we wash lettuces, thaw meats out, et cetera, et cetera. So be careful about that. Chef Eric will pick up on that right away. So salamander is what we saw above the burners in the kitchen. That's where we melt cheeses, we gratinate items, we finish steaks, we do a multitude of things. Those are the units that are located above the stove. Microwave. In industry, we call a microwave chef mic. So if the server comes back and says, where's my well done filet mignon? You say Chef Mike's working on it. And they know what's going on. Flat top. For those of you that have not used a flat top, a lot of people will call it a griddle. It's kind of an old term, but a flat top is where, for example, we can do pancakes, eggs, we can sear items, we can sear chicken breast. It's a good item to have on your hotline. Fryer. Fryers in the restaurant industry, they hold about 35 pounds of grease. They're quite large units, so you can put that probably on your hotline. Conveyor oven. If you're doing pizzas, that type of thing, those places will use the conveyor ovens. Deck ovens is what those will probably be in your prep area. Those are convection ovens that we will bake cookies, we'll roast meats, we'll do all sorts of different things with those things. Then a tilt brazier is generally, it's a large unit, it's flat with about a 1 foot lip on it. And we cook eggs, we braise, we make soups, we do all sorts of different things in there. So
I think we showed that one in week 1, right, Chef? That was like our favorite most utilized.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
I love that little guy. That thing's awesome.
Yeah. My record is 15 gallons of scrambled eggs at the same time.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. That's awesome. That's a lot of eggs. I hate to be the guy that cracked all those.
Oh, yeah. That's what prep cooks are for. Want to help me out? Come on over here. Yeah. So once again, to repeat the instructions, okay? So we've talked about how to move walls around, right? If you decide to move the walls around, you are not required to move the walls around. It's up to you if you want to or not. So, right, you're going to left click on it. Left click, and you can drag and put that wall wherever you want. If you want to turn the wall, you click on the left click on the blue dot. If you want to move the wall back, just left click, drag it back to where you want it. It's quite simple. The equipment, if I want to put ranges, I'll just left click on my range and I'll drag and I'll drop it wherever I want it. If I want multiple ranges, I simply right click on the range, I copy, and then I go to where I want to be and I'll right click again, I'll hit paste, and boom, now I have another range, right? So it's left click to pick, drag, right click to copy and paste, right? Left, right, left, right, left, right, right? So that's how you will lay your kitchen out. And then if you're doing a small bakery, cafe, once again, same thing, coolers, equipment over here to the right-hand side. And then food truck as well. So make sure that you include a brief, concise summary of your concept for Chef Eric to make sure that he has a clear understanding of what you are trying to achieve. Also, make sure that if you have any questions this week or you get stuck on this, if you get stuck on the technical part as far as moving stuff around, 877-224-8576. They will be glad to help you out. Our IT, our technical support department, they're fantastic. They will help you. If you can't get a hold of them, call myself, call Chef Eric. That's what we're here for. So take advantage of it.
Just make sure to include your name with that text because, you know, we don't have you all on speed dial. So just make sure that you guys definitely include your name and your concerns specifically for what assignment, what class, those types of things. So, you know, yes, please.
And if you leave a message, if you call, leave a message. Yeah.
Say, hey, this is Ebony. Chef Eric, I could use your assistance. Can you give me a call back as soon as possible? Thank you.
Help me. And we'll get back to you right away. Right? That's what we do. But and I don't think it's so much this class. This class is pretty good about it, or has been with me. But you know, we do have some other classes where the students will just call and then hang up, and you're like, well, who was it? Yeah, when you have 300 students, it's kind of hard to figure.
You don't leave a message, we don't know you called. Like, we do have ways of finding these things out, but you know, we kind of got to take a nice, good, long loop around to really find that information. So definitely name, number to call you back, you know, and your concern is really going to be the best. Just shoot a text message. It's probably the quickest way to get a hold of anybody. You know, you just be like, hey, look, I need help.
Help me. And then for our final thing tonight, we're going to take a quick look at our weekly assignment. This is what Chef Eric is going to be taking a look at when he's taking a look at your assignment this week. And you got to make sure that you have your hand sinks in appropriate areas as needed. We talked about where to put those. We talked about where they were on the diagram as well. Waste disposal trash cans, we talked about that. So we need to know, we know that we need to have them in easily accessible areas, in areas that need trash cans, right? So for example, in your service area, you could probably have a small waste basket, you know, next to the or by the POS terminal, but the cooks are going to need larger trash cans in ample areas. 20% dish areas organized and efficiently. It's really important. Put those Metro racks in the dish areas. That's where you're going to keep your plates and all your backup items as far as your small wares are concerned. 20% production area organized. We talked about the prep production area being in the back, right? That's where you're going to put your convection ovens and some of your larger equipment. Make sure you have tables back there for the cooks to produce on. It's very, very important. And then all equipment required to execute menus included in design. So for those of you that put fried chicken on your menu, make sure you have a deep fryer, right? So for those of you that put grilled burgers on your menu or grilled filet mignon, make sure that you have a grill on your menu. These are the things that Chef Eric is going to be taking a look at this week. And then make sure that you include that clear and concise summary of your concept as well. Any questions, anybody? Thoughts, concerns?
Without that clear, concise summary pertaining to your concept, I can't really better assist you with how you should have your layout, right? You know, I can kind of direct you in a kind of way, but if you really want some quality feedback, I need to know what kind of idea you got going for your establishment, right? Is it going to be a little bit more laid back? I need to know it's going to be a little bit more laid back. It's going to be fine dining. I need to know that. If it's going to be a food truck, mind you, I'm probably going to find out that you have a designed food truck, but I still want to know what you're going to be producing, right? So really give me that kind of information each and every week, guys. That's part of that. That's 10% right off the top, okay?
Yeah, and it sounded like some of you might have been a little timid about last week's assignment or a little bit concerned. We need to remember that this is culinary school, and it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to have things a little bit off and everything else. That's what Chef Eric and I are here to guide you through and correct you on those issues. So don't be afraid to submit if you're not sure, if it looks a little awkward, it's okay. You know, and we're going to guide you through it. We're going to make sure that you know and you understand. But before that happens, there's an old saying that us old chefs like to use, proaction before reaction. So we like to pick up the phone and call, or text, or Moodle message, or email, or smoke signal. I don't know.
What was that song, Chef? You can just call me. I'll be there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's from our era, right?
Yeah, James Brown or somebody like that. No, I think we're like more MySpace. Yeah, we can send ourselves MySpace messages. Yeah, those things are cool. Yeah. All right, ladies and gents, thank you very much for a great live session. Have a fantastic week. Make sure you call 520.
Any of you got questions before we time out?